I will give you a necessarily brief overview of how is air is treated in present and future Spanish standard for minimum requirements regarding building energy certification. This is the framework. The PPD has been transposed into several documents. I will not go into this in detail. The minimum requirement for buildings, energy certification for new and existing buildings. There's another document which is requirements for boilers and systems and so on. This is here. And then approved documents, which are the calculation tools, energy scales, and so on. And the one is conditions for acceptation of alternative detailed procedures. And this one states the national calculation tool calculation standard, which is the minimum requirements for the calculation tools that can be developed as an alternative to the official tool, which is Calendar. And, well, this is some of the requirements. We need to have an hourly-based dynamic multi-sense simulation method, which is quite complicated, but that's the way we have decided to go. And there are, well, minimum capabilities that have to be implemented in the software, boundary conditions, components, assumptions of modeling, default values, and data requested to the user, which are defined in the document, in this document I have previously told you about. So what do we have now in the current technical code? How we treat air tightness. These are the common assumptions in the default software and the alternative softwares that we have. We use a single compressed loop method for the calculations. We have, I told you before, we have a constant value of air changes per hour. This means efforts on air tightness are not rewarded in the certification, which is an important thing that we want to change for the next year. Well, there's another kind of things. We make an average of wind, no wind, and 4 meters per second wind velocities to calculate these values. Cracks evenly distributed. This is more or less the same thing. The calculation is used the European norm. And then this is the data requested to the user. As I told you before, we have 3 levels of windows air tightness, and these are mandatory in only 3 of the 5 winter climatic zones in Spain. In the south zones, they are not mandatory. And then we have indoor quality requirements according to another regulation in the main document of the building code. Then we have the default values. I told you about that before. 6 air changes per hour at 50 pascals. And that's for the take part, and then we have to complement that with the values for windows. Then we have introduced the possibility of calculating night ventilation in summer, and then we assume constant pressure coefficient. This is an example. We're calculating here the case, well, this is a standard dwelling in Spain, for example, and we are calculating here the airflow rate with no wind and with the wind velocity of 4 meters per second. Then we have the average, which is the total airflow that we have to comply with. And this is we have here the ventilation rate in the horizontal and the ventilation and infiltration rate, the total air changes of the building, of the house, in vertical. Okay. For the three kinds of windows, and the dotted lines are the 3 kinds of windows with a half value of the opaque air tightness set, 6 air changes at 50 pascals. This is what we have now. What we are going to change for next year is we are going to give the possibility for people who cares about air tightness. Well, people will have the possibility to stick to the default value as they have been doing up till now. But if you want to improve and if you want to really get to an A-rated or a B-rated building, you are going to have to specifically address air tightness in your building, because there will be a modification in the calculation standard which will allow buildings with better air tightness to change that default value in the energy calculation tool, and they will have to demonstrate the value they are putting in the software with a test once the building is already finished. Other changes, we are going to allow demand control ventilation and intensive night ventilation during summer. And we are going to change the, whoops. Please don't control my desktop. Decline. We are going to require for that, for the official tool and for the rest of the tools, we're going to require multi-zone assessment in terms of. So, if we had, until now we had this requirement at all times for air changes per hour. Now we are going to change the way we are calculating this to permit this kind of a schedule pattern. So the practical consequence of this is you don't change the building, but the air changes per hour requirement is going down, which is could be kind of strange, because the same building that was worse with the previous scheme is going to be a bit better now. But we don't expect this to be as big, as important to change the rating of a building, because, as you know, lots of other things are taken into account in certification. So we have made our tests, and we don't think this is going to change the overall certification of the building in this aspect. The other thing is this is what I'm telling you. The other thing is that demand control ventilation, we are going to allow these kind of strategies here, but they will have to comply, or will have to provide sensors and then measurements to comply with this. And it's about time? Okay. So we are going to permit them lowering the values to this place, and then with better airtightness, with a blower door test, they will be able to concentrate in this area, which we believe is a much better situation than with what we have right now. I don't know if we have time for the vast experience on airtightness in 1 minute. No. Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, if anyone wants to know about this, they can contact me directly, and I will be happy to provide them with the information. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. We are now exactly